Hey there. Welcome to the Kim Constable podcast. Nobody cares. Work harder. How are you all doing today? Welcome to another episode. I was compelled to make an episode today because the BBC, which is a broadcasting house here in Belfast, well, actually in the UK, rang me this morning asking me to make a video comment on a website expose that they are doing on a website called Tattle. Now, many of you will actually know Tattle because I've talked about it quite a bit in the past, but it's basically a website which is designed to give people a platform to talk about online influencers. That's basically it. It's a place where you can go anonymously, create an anonymous account, and basically talk shit about people who you don't like online, dissect their lives, dissect their content, dissect everything about them, and just spew forth all your hurt and anger and hatred and make yourself feel better. And of course, there's been things that have happened in my life and in my business, with disgruntled employees and whatever else. And then, of course, they go straight onto Tattle and, or they get friends to go onto Tattle and try to stir up a bit of a hornet's nest. You know who you are. And talk shit about me online, thinking that in some way they're going to hurt me or punish me. But I have a very different view of people talking about you online and people talking about you negatively, which you guys will know if you followed me for a while, really doesn't affect me. I've never cared about it. In fact, I welcome it, because if no one's talking negatively about you in the world, then you're actually not doing anything worthwhile. Has always been my thoughts on it. I remember hearing Grant Cardone talking years ago. I love Grant. He's amazing. And he said a thing. I was listening to an interview with him once, and he said, if you love me, tell all your friends. If you hate me, tell all your friends. Just keep talking about me because it keeps me relevant. And I just thought that was absolutely amazing. It reframed it for me, because he was saying, like, without the haters, you're nothing. Like, you really are not doing anything worthwhile. If you are going to do something worth talking about in the world, then you are going to have haters. And if you don't have haters and people talking negatively about you, you're not doing anything worthwhile. So it kind of comes with the territory with being online, comes with the territory with putting yourself out there, with building a business, with doing anything worthwhile. Anyone successful in the world, no matter how successful you are, whether you're Beyonce or Rory McIlroy or, a famous football player or Victoria Beckham or whatever, like, you are going to have people talking negatively about you. And on the other side, you're going to have people who absolutely love you. It just comes with the territory. But it made me think a lot about kind of stuff that's been happening, I guess, recently. I've been talking a lot about Ozempic, medical weight loss injections, GLP-1, menopause, HRT, all this kind of stuff. And I've been getting a lot of backlash online from people um, really trying to take me down, actually. In fact, it's so funny. The tattle trolls, as I call them, confused fans, I like to describe them as, and they all listen to this podcast as well. It's so funny. Like, it's hilarious. Sometimes whenever I see people talking negatively about me online and they're like quoting something I said, I'm like, I mentioned that like 40 minutes into one of my podcasts. So clearly these people are actually listening to my content and listening to it enough and for long enough to be able to go on and comment about it, which I just find so incredibly funny, because anyone who I don't agree with or don't like online, like, I'm not spending 40 minutes, 60 minutes, hours every week listening to their content and watching their stuff. Like, I'm just not. So that's why I call them confused fans, because clearly they are fans, but they like to talk shit about you as well. But it really made me think recently. They've been reporting all my content. They watch everything that I do. They listen to everything I do. And then they go online and they report all my content. And I was sitting with my husband in bed the other morning and I said to him, Ryan, why do people hate me so much? And he laughed and he goes, in fact, he didn't even miss a beat. He was like, most husbands would be like, oh no, they don't hate you, sweetie. Like, people love you. Ryan was like, because you're outspoken, because you're not afraid of them, you have an opinion. And he goes, but most of all, it's because you're a woman. And I was like, oh my God, you're so right. It's because I'm a woman. Because it wasn't me. Actually, there was something came up where some guy online was talking about GLP-1s and Ozempic, and he was telling people how to microdose and all the things that I've been doing recently that I've been getting shut down for. And he said they don't, and I said, why can he talk about this but I can't? And he said, well, one, because he's a man, and two, because he doesn't have haters. And it really made me think about women. And that's why I wanted to talk about this in the podcast today. It made me think about women. That's not what I want to talk about women specifically, but it made me think how catty women are, right? How catty and emotional and vindictive women are. Like, women are vindictive bastards. Like, we really are. Like, I hate to be hard on my own sex, but men, yes, men, are responsible for most of the terrorism in the world, and men will blow each other up and whatever. But women are just nasty, vindictive, and calculated. Like, they really are. And so if they see another woman doing well, another woman playing in a man's world, being successful in bodybuilding or business or making a lot of money or just doing well in the world, like, they just want to take her down. They feel naturally competitive with each other, whereas men don't seem to have that. They don't seem to have that natural competitiveness to outdo each other. And if they do it in fair play. That's what I've noticed online. Like, men very rarely take down other men. They tend to do it in fair play, whereas women are just bitches. So anyway, it made me think about all of the stuff that's been happening recently, that I've been sharing about GLP-1s and Ozempic, and I realized that but Weight Watchers had gone out of business recently. And this is kind of my resounding story at the minute. My gardener one day told me that Weight Watchers had gone out of business. They'd gone into receivership, and they were quoting medical weight loss solutions as the reason that they had gone out of business. And it made me realize how clearly everyone in the world, not everyone, but enormous amount of people are taking medical weight loss injections, right? Using Ozempic, using um, GLP-1s to lose body fat. And but they're not talking about it because this is big enough to put Weight Watchers, the largest fat loss company in the world, arguably, if it's big enough to put them out of business, but no one is talking about it, which they're not, because I've tens of thousands of women in my group and no one was mentioning that they were on GLP-1s, then clearly it was like a dirty little secret. And I thought, why are we keeping dirty little secrets? Like, why are women and men not able to be honest about the choices that they're making in their lives? Like, who the fuck cares enough about your life to comment on it? And why do you care that they care? Which is really what I wanted to talk about today. Like, why is it that I'm different? Why is it that I don't care about what other people say? And is it really that I don't care, or is it that I've just become impervious to it? Is it that I've just learned to live with it? I've accepted it as part of the territory. And I think that's probably what it is more than anything. And it's happened to me enough now over the last 8 years of running this company that I've realized it doesn't hurt me. I think in the beginning you think it's going to hurt you, especially if you're starting a business or you're creating something online or doing something worthwhile. You think that people talking negatively about you is actually going to hurt you. You think it's going to hurt your business or hurt what you're doing. And it takes a long time for you to realize, nothing bad happened, didn't hurt me, didn't affect me negatively at all. Everything was completely okay. And so today I thought, right, let's talk about this. Let's bring this out into the open. Let's talk about hurt feelings. Let's talk about shame. Let's talk about why you don't feel comfortable to talk about the fact that you're on medical weight loss injections, if you are, why you don't feel comfortable to talk about the fact that you're on HRT, although that is becoming much more widely used and widespread and much more acceptable, if you like. The tide is turning on that one. But there are women who are making a lot of choices for themselves, using these different tools that are available to them, experimenting with different things that work in their lives to cause themselves to feel happier and have more joy. But yet they are so afraid of being honest about what they're doing because they care too much about what people think. So let's talk about this. What have I written down? I've got some notes here. So I've got my notes in front of me. What had I written on here? Well, let me tell you first of all what happened with me with Tattle a few years ago. So I remember I was actually away staying in Portrush, it's called. It's a seaside town here in Northern Ireland, and my stepdad lives there with his wife Naomi. And I decided to go and stay close by them with the kids. One summer we rented a house and we went and stayed. And I thought, let's go up to Portrush. They have great like amusement parks and great beaches and that kind of stuff. I thought we'll go up and we'll stay for a week, and I'll take the kids to Barry's, which is the amusement park. And I thought it'll be great crack. So we rented a house. We went and stayed there, and I remember being out the back, sitting in the back garden of this house, and I thought I'll just go online and look for something. Somebody had asked me where a podcast was or something that I had recorded. They wanted to listen to it, one of my followers on Instagram. And so I went on I thought, well, I'll just do a quick search for it. So quite often I'll just go into Google and write in Kim Constable, menopause, or Kim Constable something or other, and just a trigger word, and then that will bring up the podcast episode. So I went on to Google and I typed in Kim Constable, whatever it was I was looking for. And all of these, pages of search results came up because obviously there's pages and pages and pages of search results with the name Kim Constable because I've been online for a long time. But right up there in kind of the top three of the search engine was this website called Tattle. And I remember looking at it and going, and then there was a couple of different threads. It shows you a few preview, shows you a preview of what's on the website or whatever. And I remember whatever the first line was, but it was definitely not something positive. It was something quite negative. And I remember thinking, what is this? And I clicked onto it and I saw there were reams and reams and reams, pages of a thread, of a forum of people talking about me and talking about my content. And I started to read through it like avidly, completely engrossed in what I was reading. They had taken every single story that I had put on my Instagram for several years and basically taken it apart in a really negative way. They talked about family parties. They were talking about my mum. They were basically saying how, they were talking about my kids. They were saying about how I looked, older than my mum. And, they talked about all of my work that I've had done with face therapy. They basically just, in Belfast, we would say, slagging me off. Just an absolute and utter malicious gossip shitfest. And I was completely stunned by this. And I won't lie, it was hard to read the things that they were saying because not because I felt that they were true, but whenever someone is saying something about you that is negative, that is blatantly untrue, you feel this urge to defend yourself. And so I felt this urge I was reading this stuff going, but that is so not true. And like that is not why I did that. And that and but like, and you feel like you want to defend your intent. I that is not what I meant by that. Like they have twisted that. You feel like this urge to defend yourself. And of course, then I started posting, I started taking screenshots of what they were saying. And I thought, well, I'm going to make this hilarious on Instagram. So I started taking screenshots and then posting it on my Instagram story. And the amount of people then started messaging me and they were like, oh my God, this is horrendous. Like, how do these people live with themselves? How can they say this? Whatever. It got garnered a lot of attention. And I remember being equally thrilled and equally appalled by it, if that makes sense. That's the only way I can describe it. It was almost like watching a car crash. If you drive past a car crash, I sometimes whenever there's a car crash on the opposite side of the road and there's no obstruction on your side of the road, but the traffic slows to an absolute crawl and you think there must be an accident. And then once you get to the point of the accident, you realize it's on the other carriageway. And the only reason why the traffic is slowing to a crawl on your side is because everyone's stopping to rubberneck. Everyone's stopping to they want to see, what's happened. And human beings have this instinctive desire to know, right? We just want to know. We want to know what's going on. Maybe it's built in, and into our primitives. Like we have to know to be able to protect ourselves or something. And so it's like a car crash. If you saw a car crash up ahead and it was a bad mangled car crash and there was potentially fatalities or potentially blood or potentially something really bad, you don't want to look, but you kind of do want to look. Like you want to see, oh my god, what happened? It stirs up like an emotion in you where you really want to see but you really don't want to see. Well, that's kind of what Tattle was like for me. It was like I really want to see this to see what they're saying because it's interesting reading what other people are saying about you, even if it's not true. But I also didn't want to see it because it was so blatantly twisted and untrue. It was unbelievable. But here's what happened. Once I started giving them airtime, and my husband was like, why would you even post this? And see, this is what men are like compared to women. He was like, just ignore it. Like, why would you give them any attention? But I guess back in the day, if I'm completely honest, I wanted to punish them. So they were saying all of this negative stuff about me. So I wanted to use my platform to punish them. So I started posting all of this stuff about them online and saying, oh my God, and basically goading them and taunting them and calling them confused fans and, and saying thank you so much to them for posting all this content. It was driving more traffic to my site and all this kind of stuff. And then, of course, I started to get into a bit of a tattle war with them in that I couldn't help but go and look at the website to see what they were saying. So it was like I would post about them, and then I would go back to the website and read what they had written about me posting, and then I would retaliate on my website, and then I would go back and read what they were posting, and I kind of got into this tit for tat war with Tattle. And I don't know what happened or when I decided to stop it, but I did. I did decide to stop it. This went on, I think, probably for about a year until one day I was talking to my coach and I realized that I had an urge. I had an impulse, like a compulsion almost, to go onto Tattle and read what was being written about me. And it was almost like an itch I had to scratch. And I would be on the internet or I would be, doing stuff and I would go, I'll just go onto Tattle and see what they're saying. You got a weird kind of dopamine hit from it. That's the only way I can describe it. It's like walking past a door or walking past a room and hearing your name mentioned and then standing listening at the door and realizing that they're talking about you and being able to hear what they're saying about you. If we walked past a room and we heard someone talking about us, we would instantly stop and listen to hear what they were saying because we're human beings are very self-focused. We're very self-obsessed in many ways, and we want to know what other people are saying about us. And I do think it's probably rooted in self-protection. I think that we want to know what's happening. We want to know what's going on. We think that if we have more data, we have more information, that we will somehow protect ourselves. It's not true, by the way. And so what happened was this went on with Tattle for a while, for about a year, I would say. And then one day I was talking to my coach and I said, okay, I've realized I have this compulsion. I realize I have this urge to go on and read Tattle and see what they're saying about me. And I want to work this. I want to get over this. So she worked with me and did an integration with me. And I realized that I actually traced it back to a memory whenever I was in childhood, completely unrelated to Tattle, where I had done something that I thought that I was going to get into trouble for. I had done something. We'd been up to mischief with a neighbor, a friend, and I hadn't done anything wrong. In fact, this neighbor had done something. In fact, you know what? I'll just tell you the story. So I was very, very young, and I mean very young. I think I maybe would have been, I want to say like 5 or 6, like super young. And I was playing with my neighbor and his friend. Okay. And they were maybe 2 years older than me. And we were like hiding under a bed. And then this friend like started to, like try to like kiss me. And when I say fondle me, he was like 7. He wasn't like really doing anything inappropriate to me. But I remember just feeling uncomfortable. Like this was like not attention. Like, it wasn't like childish stuff. He was being a little bit more advanced in his affections than I was like prepared for. And so I remember whenever you're that age, you're like, will you be my boyfriend? Will you be my girlfriend? It's all kind of up in the air. You're not even kissing or doing anything. You're just, being my boyfriend or being my girlfriend means spending time with each other. This boy was just a little too friendly, let's say, with me under this bed. And I remember getting out of there as fast as I possibly could. And I told him I was claustrophobic. I said, oh, I need to go. And he said, oh, are you claustrophobic? I said, yes, I am. And he was like, oh, right, okay. And he immediately like stopped or whatever and let me out from underneath the bed. And I went running home to my mum. And I remember feeling really, really, really uncomfortable about the situation. I didn't know how to process it. I didn't know what to do. But I remember being terrified that I was going to get into trouble. And whenever I really focused on what was the feeling that I got whenever I went onto the Tattle website and wanted to look at it, that was the memory that came up. So that's how disintegration works. Quite often if we have a feeling, if we have an urge or a compulsion to do something, or there's a fear that comes up, because I realized it was a fear. I had this feeling of what are they saying? What are they saying? What are they saying? And I had this, this urge to go on and check. I realized that it was all traced back to this particular memory when I thought that I was going to get into trouble. I went home and I was terrified that my mum would find out because I had thought that I had done something bad. I don't even know why I thought I'd done something bad, but I thought that I had. And so I kept that a secret from my mum, obviously then, and I packed it away and didn't look at it again. But whenever I brought this out with my coach and I looked at this whole memory, I realized that it was the same feeling, this feeling that I had, that I need to know, am I going to get into trouble? And I remember for years afterwards, having this fear that somehow someone would find out about this thing that I did under the bed with my neighbor's friend when I was like 6. And it was like it was so innocent, but I remember thinking that I was going to get into trouble and somebody might find out. And that was the feeling that was coming up whenever I was looking at the Tattle website. So whenever then I unpacked that memory and I realized that I did nothing wrong, he did nothing wrong. We were just innocent kids. He had maybe seen his mom and dad, like being affectionate with each other and decided to be that way with me. He was like trying it on. We hadn't done nothing wrong. I could have been 100% honest with my mom and she would have just gone, oh, that's just kids being kids. I mean, I wouldn't even have had to say anything because there was nothing to say. It wasn't like, we were like, wasn't like we were having like oral sex or anything. We wouldn't even kiss. But I remember just feeling like I'd done something really bad. And once I unpacked it and realized that I hadn't done anything really bad, there was nothing to be afraid of. I could have been completely honest with it, about it with my mum, with anyone. It completely transformed it for me. And I stopped having the urge to go on and look at the Tattle website. And so that was, I would say, maybe 3 years ago, possibly more. Could even mean four, actually. Four, what are we now? 2025. I would say that was in 2021. So it was about 4 years ago. And in 4 years, I have not gone onto the Tattle website. And it was so funny. I kept testing it. I kept like going on to Google and I would like, look for things or whatever. And I would scroll down and I would, sometimes I'm looking for some of my Forbes articles. If someone's asking, for different things, I'll go on and type in Kim Constable Forbes and my Forbes features will come up. I've had 3 of them. And just to drop that in there, I've had 3 of them. I'm relevant. Make sure you know that. So what I sometimes Tattle then would come up and it would, it would come up in the search engine and I would look at it and I would go, wow, interesting. I didn't even have an urge to open it anymore. And so if you have the urge, maybe you're on Tattle, maybe you're not, maybe you have been talked about online, maybe you're worried about what people will think, you will quite often trace it back to some memory in childhood where you believe that you did something wrong and someone might have found out. And once the urge was gone for me, I just didn't look at it anymore. It ceased to exist for me. And that was literally pivotal in my life because I realized that something only exists for you when you pay attention to it. When you pay attention, when you don't pay attention to it, it is gone. The other thing that I realized is human beings will always gossip about each other. If you look at any of the online period dramas, if you're here in the UK, maybe you've watched Downton Abbey, maybe you've watched, what was that other one that was out recently, Bridgerton or Queen Charlotte or whatever. Like the whole basis of Bridgerton is based around a gossip website, a gossip rag. Lady, oh God, what's her name? I can never remember anything whenever I'm talking about it off the top of my head. But Penelope, anyway, was the character in it. And Lady Whistledown. And she was basically, she wrote a gossip rag and everybody was super interested in it. Well, Lady Whistledown is literally the old, made up because it's not real, equivalent of our modern day Tattle. It is malicious gossip, which people love to read, love to talk about, love to indulge in. And that is basically a human thing. Like it's an innate human drive that will never ever ever go. The difference is now we have the internet where people can be anonymous and so they can be malicious with their gossip. Years ago you had to be careful with your gossip because someone could find out that it was you and you could get into trouble, so there were consequences. The problem with today's society and with the internet and giving people anonymity is that there are no consequences. So people can now act without consequence, which means that if they don't have a high sense of morality, if they don't have high moral values and weren't really brought up to understand the difference between right and wrong, then and they weren't given consequences as a child that were in integrity and not just punished into them, then they will act without any morality. They will hide behind an online persona and they will talk shit about people. It has always happened since the dawn of time. It is still happening now. It's just that it's more widespread and you have more availability to see it because it's there in front of you online. You don't have to be told it by someone else. You don't have to hear it through the grapevine. You don't have to have it printed and read in a paper. It's there for all to see online. But here's the clinker: it only exists if you pay attention to it. So I decided not to go there anymore. I literally decided that I was not going to go on Tattle 4 years ago, haven't been on the website since. And my life has been nothing but better. Because the other thing that I realized whenever I was regularly visiting Tattle was I began to become almost conscious of what they would say. And so sometimes then I started shaping my content, or I started running my content or what I was going to post through the filter of what Tattle might say about it. Or if they had said something about me which was deliberately untrue, or very obviously untrue, I kind of felt the need to correct it in a very subtle way, like to show them, well, it isn't actually this way, it's this way. Or like for some reason, Tattle seemed to be massively interested in, like, I own the office building that I uh, that we use here for the company. Um, we bought it through our pension company, and not that it's anyone's business, but we basically have a huge amount of savings and pension, and you can buy buildings through your pension company. We bought the building through the pension company, so my company, Kim Constable Limited, doesn't own the building. But Tattle seemed to be hugely interested in this, and I have no idea why. They had threads and threads about it on their website about, she said she owned the building, but she doesn't own the building. And like they go online, they look at my company accounts online, they're like, oh, she's not making as much money as she said. And I felt like the need, to go on and like correct them and be like, well, actually, I have investments and I have this and I have that. And I bought the building through the pension company. Like I felt the need to go on and correct what they were saying. It was so funny. So I started like shaping my content through what I thought Tattle might say, which is kind of the modern day equivalent, or the online equivalent, if you like, of what other people are doing and what you are potentially doing. So let's bring this round to what I started talking about in the first place. What I realized with the GLP-1s and HRT and the different tools that menopausal women are using to help them to burn fat, build muscle, regulate their hormones, all of those different things, many women aren't talking about it because they're afraid of what people might say. They don't want to give anybody any ammunition to talk about them. And so they're hiding these parts of themselves that they don't feel are acceptable by society, just in case people talk about them, or because people have an opinion. And have you ever heard people say, but like, what will people say? Or what will people think? And I think that we're trained whenever we're kids. Certainly, my parents were like that as well. They're like, oh, don't be telling. My dad will still say now to me, oh no, don't be telling anybody that. Don't, keep that to yourself. I'm like, why? So, well, you don't want people to know that. Why? If something changes in the business, or I decide to do something, or I go a different road, or he's like, oh, don't tell anybody. I'm like, why, Dad? Why not tell anyone? Well, because you don't want people talking about you. Why? What'll happen if they do? It's like, what happens? People are going to talk about you anyway. I have a friend who is actually my trainer, Trevor, and with the horses. And he always says to me, he said to me so many times, I find it so hilarious. He always said to me, do you know what, Kim? I love you. I absolutely love you. You are so fantastic. Like you're just you. You're just you wherever you go, whatever you do. You're so consistent. You're just you. And he says, and I said, yeah, you know what, Trevor, yeah, I am. And he goes, that's what I love about you. And he goes, and honestly, no matter what people say about you, like when people try to talk shit about you to me, I just say, no, I always defend you. And I always laugh and go, I wonder what people say to Trevor about me. Like it's so funny. And I never even ask. I don't care. I'm not like, well, what are people saying about me? Like he said it to me 3 or 4 times. Whatever people say about you, I don't, I always defend you. I don't listen to what they say, or and I'm like, well, first of all, I'm your friend. I would hope that you would defend me, which is what he does. Secondly, I don't care. I just go, oh yeah, whatever. Like I am sure in the eventing world, people fucking love to talk about me because I just burst onto the eventing scene and I just, ride my horses and do my thing and fall off and fuck up and sponsor shit and buy shit and I'm just do. I just like skip through life, just being Kim, smiling at everyone, being happy all the time. And I'm sure it drives people fucking bananas because I'm just so happy all the time and I don't give a flying fuck what you have to say about me. You know why? Because what you have to say about me does not affect me in any shape or form. My life is no different in any way whenever you talk about me. Doesn't affect me in any way. And I think that that is the fear that we have. Not me. I think that is one thing that I have learned that I want to pass on to you in this podcast. When people talk about you, it doesn't affect you. You think it's going to affect your business. You think it's going to affect your job. You think it's going to affect your promotion. It's not. People see it for what it is. It is mindless, silly gossip. People who love to gossip love to hear gossip from other people. And if you are a gossiper, then you will love to indulge in gossip. If you're not a gossiper and someone comes to gossip to you about someone else, you'll say, well, I don't really know anything about that. That's what I always say. Well, I don't really have an opinion on that, or I don't really know anything about that. And it just shuts down the gossip straight away. So if you are a gossiper, and we all have to be honest about this. If you love a little bit of gossip, then you cannot blame other people who gossip about you, because what goes around comes around, and we have to paint the world the way we want to see it. We have to be the change that we want to see in the world. If you don't want people to gossip about you, don't gossip about other people. I am like a vault. When someone tells me something, I don't tell anyone. Sometimes mostly I tell my husband. I'm like, what do you hear, right? Ryan's the person I gossip to, but quite often not. But like when someone tells me something, it goes in the vault. I have no need to pass on gossip to other people. So let me ask you a question. Why do we gossip? Why do we gossip about other people? Why do we feel the urge to say, did you hear what happened to such and such? Do you know why? It's attention, because whenever we're little kids and we pass on stuff to our parents or to other people, we learn, and they go, oh, that's interesting, oh wow, we are given attention for things that are not attention worthy. So we pass on gossip to other people, and our parents, maybe who love a bit of gossip, go, oh right, oh interesting, oh tell me about that. So we learn, oh, whenever I do this, I get attention, and when I get attention, it feels good. So I want to be the person who brings the news of other people to other people, because it makes them go, "Ooh, and now I'm the special and worthy one because I made you go, ooh, isn't that interesting? I give you a little bit of pleasure whenever I talked about this. And now you feel good about you. You feel good about hearing the information. And I feel good about being the person who reported the information to you." That's why we love to gossip. That's why we love to snitch. Like we got, like, if you ever got praised for being a snitch whenever you were younger, you will become a fucking gossiper. I never got praised for being a snitch. And in fact, there was no one for me to snitch on. And I never wanted to snitch on my sisters. They were older than me and I always wanted to protect them. I never wanted to snitch on them. But if you were a snitch when you were younger and your parents praised you for being a snitch, you will become a gossiper whenever you're older. I hate to tell you. So if you really want to eradicate gossip in the world, you have to look at your own urge to gossip. You have to look at what you get out of it, because what you get out of it is what websites like Tattle get out of it. They love to gossip. They look at other people's lives, they talk about them, they think that talking about them negatively hurts them in some way, and then that makes them feel good about them. Because that's the other thing about gossip. And that's the other thing about, people who talk about other people. If I have a value in the world, then and if sorry, not even a value. So let me break this down. There's a difference between values and rules. So if something is a value of mine, if something is an ethic, then I don't feel the need to preach to anyone about it. I don't feel the need to change anyone else's behavior, and I don't feel the urge or the need to punish someone for not upholding my ethic. But if something is a rule, rules are based on fear. So if I have a rule that something must be a certain way, then if I see something in the world which is contrary to my rule or breaks my rule, then I get angry or I get upset. I don't even know that it's happening because it's usually such a instantaneous little feeling that I get. And then I think that if I can change that person, I will try and change them. If I can't, I will punish them. I will talk about them negatively. I will put them down. I will be mean and nasty about them, because when I'm nasty and mean about them for an instant, it makes me feel better. So seeing them be the way they are causes me pain. And when I feel that pain, I don't like it. And so I think that if I punish them and talk negatively about them and put them down, then just for an instant the pain goes away. And it becomes addictive. People who do this, like the tattle trolls, the confused fans, they have literally got themselves into an attention trap of feeling better. Some people feel so shit in their lives. Some people were hurt so much as kids and treated so badly that they walk around hurt all the time. And do you know what hurt people do? Hurt people hurt people. The more hurt you carry inside of you, the more pain you walk around with in your life every day, the more you will hurt people. And so I see them for what they are: hurt little children running around feeling hurt. So let's break down values versus rules. So if you have a value of nutrition, let's say good nutrition was modeled for you as a child, then you will grow up valuing good nutrition. So you will grow up making eating good food, healthy food, nourishing food for your body important. And you will embody that value by cooking healthy food, shopping healthy food, preparing healthy food, looking for restaurants that have healthy food. You will sometimes eat junk food or indulge in it, but you will want to nourish your body with good food because that was modeled for you as a child by your environment or by your community or by your parents. Okay. And this is kind of there are obviously exceptions to everything, but this is kind of the normal way that it goes in. And so you won't feel the urge to change anybody else. But if you have a rule around something, if you were punished as a child for eating sugar, let's say you had a parent who was punished as a child for eating sugar. And so every time they see you eating sugar, they say, "Oh, well, you shouldn't do that and that's bad for you." And, "Oh, no, 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 not too much of that." And they're constantly trying to limit sugar or limit things without educating you as to why sugar might not be the healthiest choice right now. If you have a value of something, you will educate your children as to why it might not be the healthiest choice. But if you have a rule around it, then you will limit it, you will be fearful around it, and you will potentially punish them for making that choice. That you then instill rules in your children, not values. So let me give you an example. My daughter Maya, in fact, all my kids, when kids are young, they don't want to always eat healthy food. There are exceptions to this rule, but whenever you give your kids food freedom, which is what I did with all my kids, I never punished them into eating, healthy food. Whatever they wanted to eat, I just let them eat it. Okay. And I just thought, well, at some point, they're going to reach an age where health and nutrition is going to become important to them, probably around puberty, because it's important to me. It's important to my husband. We model healthy living and healthy nutrition for them. So at some point, they're probably going to come around to it. So we never limited their food. We never limited what they wanted. My first son, Corey, always had an amazing diet, still does. Second son, Kai literally lived on chocolate spread and tortilla wraps for, I would say, probably 3 to 4 years. That's all he wanted was porridge or oatmeal in the morning. Loved oatmeal, but he loved chocolate spread. And he went through a stage of only wanting to eat Nutella wraps. Nutella wraps, that was it. Did I try and stop him? No. Did I try and encourage him to eat other foods? Did I make him soups and stews and healthy alternatives? Yes, all the time. Did he eat them? Sometimes, but I never limited I never made it bad. Now, my husband Ryan, on the other hand, was brought up with a lot of food rules. Okay, not a lot of food rules, but his dad has had a very, very tough upbringing in South Africa and definitely has a lot of rules around sugar. And so would have probably, I imagined, punished the kids for eating too much sugar. Like, oh, you can't have sugar. Sugar's bad for you, and too much sugar, and don't eat sugar. And there was a real thing about sugar. So Ryan used to go through, oh my God, you can't, like, don't, you. He used to try and stop them, and shame them in a way, in his very subtle way, into not eating sugar, not eating Nutella. It's bad for your body. He had a lot of fear, right? Like, we can't let the kids do this because it's going to be bad for their body. And what if this bad thing happens? I'm like, what is the bad thing that's going to happen? They'll be malnourished. They're not going to be malnourished, Ryan. Like, seriously, fucking calm down. Whereas I was brought up in the country, wholesome, whole cooked food. So was Ryan. His mum cooked every day, made, cakes and whatever. But there was no struggle in my family, right? His mum loves sugar. His dad has a lot of rules. You're not allowed to have sugar. My parents never had any of that. There was just plenty of food. There was never any food struggle. No one in my family is disintegrated around food. We just sat down and we ate, and there was never any limits. We could have ice cream, we could have McDonald's, we could have Chinese's, we could have sugar, we could have biscuits. We had wholesome, home cooked food. There was no food off the table. I was never forced to sit at the table and finish my food. I was never limited in what I was allowed to eat. If I wanted a biscuit before dinner, I could have one. If my mom said no, I just went into my grandma's house. She gave me one. So, there was no limits around food. So I grew up with zero fear around food, right? No fear around food. Whereas Ryan grew up with a lot of fear around food. And so this was a battle in our early life when I had to literally protect the kids and go, stop, Ryan, stop it. Like, I would not let him punish them. Tomato sauce. Corey would be like, can I have some tomato ketchup? And Ryan would like put like a pea size amount on his plate. I'd like, Ryan, give the kid ketchup. Stop. He's like, oh, ketchup's bad for you. It's full of sugar. Who gives a shit, Ryan? Put the fucking ketchup on his plate now. I would have been very like, stop imposing your food rules on the kids. Give them ketchup. And so I didn't want my kids to grow up disintegrated around food. So back to the story. My daughter Maya, she's now 15. And this happened with all the kids. In fact, I was talking about Kai first. So Kai lived on Nutella wraps. Maya, when she was younger, had like a real, like, they all just ate white food. They went through a stage of being really healthy when they were younger. Then they went into this colored food is bad stage, which just kind of happens, I think, at around the age of maybe 7 till they're about like 13, where they become like fearful of trying anything new and they don't want to, eat, try different foods and different variety of foods, and then they come out the other side. So Maya's diet was kind of very limited for men, not limited for many years, but she was, what I call, they all went through the white food phase. It's like, I will eat vegan chicken and I will eat french fries and I will eat, toast and wraps, and they always at broccoli. We always had a huge amount of broccoli in the house. But she went through this stage of, oh no, I'm not trying that, no, I don't like that, no, whatever. Kai went through exactly the same stage, and then something happened at age 15 where they just went, and their food repertoire just exploded. And Maya said, can I please, instead of, we have a chef at home, so instead of Lee cooking a different meal for her and Jack every night, which was what Lee was doing, she was like, can I just eat the same food as you and dad? Maya's food repertoire exploded at about age 15. And she suddenly wanted to start trying everything. She would go to the supermarket, she would come home with pomegranates, and she would come home with like all these weird exotic vegetables and fruits and different things, and she would be trying all these foods. She started cooking for herself. She loved sushi, so she would make, I come in one morning to find Maya sitting at the table rolling sushi, and I was like, what are you doing? She was like, I'm just making sushi. Fuck's sake. Like, she had cooked all her own rice and got her own filling. She was rolling sushi, slicing it up and eating it. We call it the University of YouTube. You can learn anything on YouTube. Now, Jack, my youngest son, is 13. He's not quite there yet. He's just coming out of the white food phase, and now he's starting to experiment a little more and try a few more things, but he's not quite where the others are. Exactly the same thing happened with Kai. Kai went from a vegetable will not pass my lips at age 13 to suddenly at 14, 15, only eating vegetables. Like, he would order risottos with a massive amount of vegetables whenever we went out to restaurants. In fact, he became my body as a temple and sugar will not pass my lips. So he then moved into this whole healthy eating phase. Maya has now moved into this healthy eating phase. At the yard every day, which is at my mum's house, after she's ridden the horses in the morning, she goes into the house and she preps herself the most incredible lunches. She'll cook her own rice and she'll saute vegetables, and she scrambles tofu, and her food repertoire is enormous, not because it was punished into her, but because it's a value. Now, she does not go around trying to educate her friends on eating better. Whenever they go out for food, she does not say, oh, you shouldn't have french fries because they're bad for you, or you shouldn't have that because it's full of sugar. She doesn't have any rules around food. She's developed an ethic around food. She's developed a value around food. Health, nutrition, and food is very important to all my kids. All my kids go to the gym. Maya recently decided she wanted to start a gym program. So I gave her one of my dumbbell programs. We have a gym at home. She started using that, but she wasn't really sure of how much she should be lifting and stuff. I offered to train her, but I didn't have a lot of time to, whenever it suited her. So I gave her my dumbbell workouts. She gets up every morning at 6 a.m. I kid you not. She's 15. My kids are homeschooled, so she doesn't go to school. She gets up at 6 and she does her dumbbell workouts in the morning. She follows my online workouts and she does her dumbbell workouts religiously every single morning at 6 a.m. Not because anyone told her to or forced her to, but because she wants to. Then she goes and rides horses all day, and then she comes home, and in the evening she goes for a 60-minute walk. Again, not because anyone has told her to, not because she's trying to lose weight, but because she wants to be healthy. She wants to be cardiovascularly fit. She wants to be healthy. And Kai is the same. Kai goes to the gym every day. He walks everywhere. He eats super healthy food. Corey's the same, trains in the gym, does jujitsu, martial arts, eats really super healthy food. And Jack he trains in the gym every day and plays tennis, and does a lot of swimming. And he's now coming into the healthy eating phase naturally by himself. So that's the difference between a rule and an ethic. I have not punished my kids into eating well. I have not made them eat well. I have not forced them to eat well. I've never limited sugar or fat or butter or French fries. If we were driving home and they said, Mommy, can we have a McDonald's? I would say, sure. And I would take a detour into McDonald's and I would give them McDonald's. I never, ever created any fear around food. So that's the difference between an ethic and that's the difference between a value based on an ethic and a value based on a rule. Okay. Another one you would say would be like saying please and thank you. We always modeled saying please and thank you for our kids. I never forced them to say it. Never, ever, ever, ever in my life have I said to my kids, say thank you. Say thank you. Say thank you to your friend or say thank you to whatever. Because whenever you force your kids to say thank you, or whenever you force them to share, or whenever you force them to say sorry, even worse, like parents who force their kids to say sorry, you're basically teaching your children to lie. Do you think your child feels sorry in that moment? Like, let's say your child has done something, like ripped a toy off his friend, right? Your toddler. And you go, give that back to such and such. And you go, say sorry, say you're sorry. And they go, sorry. You know what you're basically doing? You're going, lie to your brother, lie to your brother right now. And then what happens? So you're teaching them that it's okay to lie. And then they lie to you, and then you punish them for lying. Like, how does that even make sense? Do you ever think about how fucked up we are? Like, we force our kids to lie. We force them to say thank you when they don't feel like it, say sorry when they don't feel like it, and then we punish them for lying. Like, it's crazy, right? So, I never forced my kids to say thank you. If they were too shy to say thank you, I would have said thank you for them. Let's say a stranger gave them something. There you are. There's something for you. And they were like, and they kind of looked at them, and like took the thing. I would have said, oh, thank you so much. That's so kind of you. I never was like, say thank you, say thank you. I never forced them to say thank you. Or I would have said, do you want to say thank you? And they were like, thank you. But it was never say thank you, because I don't have a rule around saying thank you. I don't care what the person thinks if my child doesn't say thank you. I am more concerned about my child and their emotional understanding and upbringing than I am about what the hell the person thinks. Are you starting to see a pattern develop here with what I'm saying? We're so concerned with what other people think that we force our kids to do shit that they don't want to do just in case someone might have an opinion of it. We're in restaurants, right? Kids are being noisy or whatever, and we've taken them to a restaurant that they really shouldn't be in, but rather than recognizing, crap, we made a mistake, and either just getting through the dinner the best you can or leaving with the children because they're not in the correct environment, we punish the shit out of them and force them to sit there and be quiet just in case, because what if other diners might think something about our kids? What if they might judge us and think our kids are unruly? Or what? We just teach them constantly to care about what other people think. So of course, whenever they grow up and then people talk about them online, or they want to do something for themselves, like that, someone else might have an opinion on, of course they feel shame, of course they feel scared to be themselves, because whenever they're younger, we punish the shit out of them for being themselves, rather than just understanding that children are exploring and being 100% themselves all the time, and it's our job to gently shape and educate them into being a good human being, an acceptable member of society. But that involves not putting them in situations that they're not able to cope with, which is a young child in a busy restaurant. Okay. So, anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here. Basically, values are, this is who I am and this is what I do. Rules are, this is who I must be and this is what I must do. If you break my rule, I will punish you. So if I have a rule that, so let's say whenever I was younger, I was super exuberant as a child, which I was, right? I was very exuberant as a child. And so let's say you have a parent who is terrified about what other people will think. And they were maybe punished. They were like, given all these rules and fears when they were younger and told to, constantly punished and kept in a box just in case other people, might think something bad about them. Well, whenever, so let's say they're then given a very exuberant child, because fate has a habit of doing that. Karma. And so this child is very, very exuberant. Well, this parent is going to punish the shit out of this child and punish the shit out of this child. And every time they're exuberant or loud or talk too loud, the parent's going to be, shh, shh, don't talk too loud. Don't do that. Right? Constant. That's punishment, by the way. It's like, shh, stop, shh, be quiet, stop that. Right? Not just like, shh, darling, 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 keep your voice down. It's let me tell you why. We're in this place, we're blah, 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 we're whatever. It's not, this isn't the kind of thing we would do here. We're like, shh, I need you to be quiet quickly in case everyone here is looking, right? Because I have a rule about being loud because I was punished about it as a child. And now I need to punish you to stop doing you because you breaking my rule is actually making me feel really, really upset. So I need to stop it, you to stop what you're doing so I can go back to feeling okay. That's why we punish other people. That's what's happening on Tattle. That's what's happening whenever you say, oh yeah, I've been on Manjaro. I've decided to take, weight loss injections. People are like, oh, what do you mean you're cheating? That's cheating. Have you not heard about the side effects? Oh my God. Have you not seen the news? People are getting pancreatitis and people are like, Ozempic face. At Robbie Williams, he got scurvy. No, no, no. This is just the media using the fear that that you naturally have inbuilt to scare you into doing what they want you to do. Who do you think is paying for the ads in the media scaremongering people about weight loss injections? Who do you think is paying for those? Do you think that that's like just newspapers reporting? No. Newspapers are businesses. They're there to make money. People pay them for advertising and they pay them for editorials. The food companies are funding the articles that are scaring you around medical weight loss injections. Why? Because last year, McDonald's profits were down 434 million. Why? Because people don't want to go to McDonald's anymore whenever they're on medical weight loss. Coca Cola, their profits were down. All the confectionery companies, their profits are all down because people are not buying confectionery anymore. They're not having the same urges to go to Kentucky and go to McDonald's. Medical weight loss solutions are affecting massive amounts of businesses all over the world. And big food are shitting themselves because people are not spending the same amount of money that they were. Well, what's the best way to stop people from taking medical weight loss injections? Scare the shit out of them because people are controlled by fear. People are controlled by fear. We are so scared. We're running around like scared little children, and we're so controlled by the media. We're so controlled by other people's opinions. We're so controlled by websites. We're so controlled by Tattle. We're so controlled by everything. We have lost sight of who we really are and what's important to us. And we're scared to make a decision in case someone might have an opinion about it. And so this is what I'm kind of really passionate about changing, about about moving in people, because I live with a level of freedom that is hard to describe. I I don't give a shit about what anyone says about me or what anyone tries to do to me. Why? Because there has been so much shit has happened to me and talked about me for the last 8 years that I realized none of it has affected me. None of it has affected my business. None of it has affected my growth. None of it has affected, opportunities I've been given. Nothing. I've just been me, outspoken, loud, obnoxious at times, opinionated. I've just been me consistently over the last 8 years of growing this business. And nothing that anyone has tried to do to me has had any effect on me whatsoever. And in fact, I would go so far as to say the negative stuff that's been posted about me online has actually driven more eyeballs to my business than anything, because people are more driven to talk about you negatively than they are positively. Now, you may not be running a business, you may not have an online profile, you may not have something that people talking about you negatively could actually boost. But even if you don't think about what I'm saying, not only has people talking negative about me not affected me, it's actually helped me. It's helped me to make more money. And so the same could be true for you. It might not help you to make more money, but if it hasn't hurt me, how can it hurt you? Like, really, how can it hurt you? Something can only hurt you if you let it. So, if you are on medical weight loss injections, if you are on HRT, if you want to leave your job, if you want to leave your marriage, if you want to move to Australia, if you want to start an online business, if you want to become an OnlyFans model or whatever they're called, do it. Who cares what people say? Who cares what people think? Like, even if your mother has an opinion, so what? Right? You were just trained as a child to care what your mother thinks. But really, your mother being angry with you whenever you're a 50-year-old woman, like, nothing happens when she's angry with you. Nothing happens when anyone's angry with you except they're just angry and they just make themselves miserable. But if you just are like, oh, well, sorry, and you just keep going, then quite often their anger dissipates. Quite often their anger goes away and they stop being angry. And after a few days, you realize that nothing happened. They just stopped being angry and they went back to normal. That's what I find happens anyway. So we have to be um not scared of being who we are, because you've only got one shot at this life, and something only exists if you pay attention to it. Janis Joplin in a song said, freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose. When you realize that you are everything that they say, you are flawed, you are imperfect, you are obnoxious at times, you are outspoken, you are opinionated, You are slovenly, lazy, fat at times. You are like all of these negative things that they say about you, as well as all the positive things. You are also all the negative things. Then you realize you're already soaking wet. Like you're soaking wet, you're out in the rain. Have you ever been out in the rain and you've like it started to rain and you're running around, you're trying to like, oh my God, you're trying to protect yourself and you're running back and forth and you're doing something, or maybe you're in the middle of doing something, or you get caught in a huge rain shower. Have you ever got caught in a huge rain shower and you try to run to get out of it, and then maybe you were in the middle of a field somewhere and then you realize there is no way I'm getting away from this, and you just realize you're soaking wet. You're soaking wet to the core. That's what I always say to the team here in the office. I'm like, guilty, I'm soaking wet. Because what happens when you realize you're soaking wet? You can't get any wetter. And so you start to enjoy the rain. You maybe turn your face up to the sky, you open your mouth, you let the rain land on your tongue, you splash in the puddles, your feet are soaking, your shoes are dirty. You just think, fuck it. You hit the fuck it button and you enjoy the rain because you are so wet, you can't get any wetter. That is what being free from other people's opinions is like. It's exactly what it's like. But here's the thing, you don't have to get soaking wet to be free from other people's opinions. You're already soaking wet. What would it take for you to recognize that you are everything that they say you are? Maybe your intent was good, which your intent, I'm sure, is always good. But all of those adjectives that people use to describe you, yeah, they're probably true. But why does it mean that it's bad? If I'm lazy sometimes, why is that bad? If I'm slovenly sometimes, why is that bad? If I have bad table manners, maybe I lick my plate or I suck my knife, right? Why is that bad? If I am greedy, why is that bad? If I boast, why is that bad? Do you know what I'm saying? Like these are all words that human beings, adjectives that human beings have created to describe someone's behavior, but they don't describe your intent. I always ask myself hear, when I have done something bad or something bad has happened as a result of my actions, something negative has happened, I always ask myself, what was my intent? And if my intent was good, if my intent was to do the best that I could do in that moment, which is what my intent always is, then I just forgive myself for the bad thing that happened. I try to right the wrong, and and if I can right the wrong, I do. But if I can't right the wrong, I just accept that I'm really sorry. My intent was good, but as a result of my good intent, this bad thing happened. And I learn from it and I move on. Because as long as your intent is good, sometimes your actions will be bad. I'm just going to finish with a very quick story. There was once I realized I was sitting in bed one morning, and I wasn't sitting in bed. I was actually putting on my makeup, and my husband was in bed, and he I heard my voice play. He was on Instagram or something, and I heard my voice talking. And it was a video that I had made, I think, about fruit, talking about how, the liver converts fruit to fructose and can't be utilized by the muscles. So it's converted to fat. And people loved to make spin off videos about that. And so I heard my video, my voice playing, and then I heard some Australian guy's voice talking and over the top of me, or pausing mine and then talking. And I was like, what is that? And Ryan goes, oh, it's something someone has sent me. He's Australian. He goes, someone in Australian sent it to me. This guy's a big Australian influencer, and he's made this, hate video about your content. And I went, oh, and I said, or he didn't say hate. He's made this video. And I went, is it negative or positive? And he goes, no, it's pretty negative. And I was like, oh, right. And I remember I was putting on my mascara, and I had this feeling for a minute of, like the feeling comes up of, oh shit, someone like with millions of followers has like made, has like said something really bad about me, or taken my content and like turned it into, something that I didn't intend. And then I was like, do I actually care about this? And I paused for a second, and I had this realization, I had this integration. Don't know what happened or where it came from, but I had this integration, or this realization of, that video only exists because of Instagram. If Brian closed his phone, you don't close your phone anymore, but if he turned off his phone and deleted the Instagram app, that would cease to exist for him. And if I opened my phone and deleted Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, email, if I deleted all of that from my phone, it would cease to exist. It only exists if we pay attention to it. So if you put up content online and you get a lot of negative comments, those comments only exist if you go and look at them. If you don't look at them, they don't exist. They exist, but they don't exist for you. And I had this incredible realization of, oh my God, it only exists if I allow it to exist. And so I didn't even think about the video again. I never went and watched it. I have no idea who it is. Nothing bad has happened. I didn't lose any business because of it. I did get 89,000 followers that week though, so it's probably from that video. And it was so freeing to realize that in any moment I have the power to turn on or turn off the negativity. I could remove myself from online. I could take my Instagram account down. I could take my social media's account offline. I could just remove myself from the online world, and all that would exist for me would be what I choose to surround myself with here in my hometown of Belfast. And that's how the world used to be years ago before the internet. People didn't know what was happening beyond their hometown, beyond, apart from newspapers, nobody knew what was happening in other parts of the world. Awful things have always happened in the world. Human beings have always been abhorrent to each other. We just didn't know about it years ago. It's not that the world has gotten any worse. It's just that we now know what's happening in all parts of the world. It was always bad. The shit that human beings have done to each other since the dawn of time is horrific. We just didn't know about it. So choose very carefully what you pay attention to, because the only thing that exists is what you focus your attention on. And if you don't focus your attention on it, it just ceases to exist for you. I promise. Try it. Promise me that you'll try it. You get one shot at this life. One shot. I'm nearly 50 now. And I've realized what is important in life. And what is important in life is my family, my children, my friends, the people that are important to me. And really, fuck all else matters. Nothing else matters. Like, genuinely, nothing else matters except what you choose to focus on. So live your best life. Be free. Do what you want. Go where you want. Live how you want to live it. Free yourself from the chains of other people's opinions. And I promise you will live a much happier, much more joyful life. Do you know what? My stomach has been growling the whole way through this podcast. And I was like, I wonder, can the microphone pick up the growling? Because it is so, so, so loud. It's unbelievable. So there you are. That's today's podcast. I hope you enjoyed it. Here's what I want you to do. If you are watching on YouTube, if you're not, if you're listening, I would love you to go to YouTube and find this podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, help me out, right? Leave me a comment. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you thought. Even just leave me a comment that says preach. Preach, Kim. Hear you loud and clear. Leaving other people's expectations behind. Or leave me a comment that says, I'm soaking wet. Soaking wet, Kim. I'm soaking wet. I commit to being soaking wet from here on in, because you're already soaking wet. You can't get any wetter. And when you realize that you're soaking wet, nothing can touch you. I promise your life will change. So if you're watching on YouTube, leave me a comment that says soaking wet, or let me know something else that you've learned from this podcast, or something else that you would like for me to learn, because the comments not only help to drive the algorithm, but they help me to shape the content and make more content that you guys want to hear or want to listen to. And so that I can obviously bring you the best content that you only want to hear. Okay, thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed it. I loved being here with you. I'm loving being back recording the podcast. And thank you for all of your comments and suggestions and engagement. I've genuinely loved reconnecting with every single one of you. And I hope that you have enjoyed it as well. So this is Kim Constable signing over and out for now. And I will see you next time on another episode of the Kim Constable podcast. Bye for now.